James.
Jill, nice to see you. Right.
Yes, you too.
Cheers. Okay. Thank you.
So how are you?
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
So James, what I thought we could do is we'll have a review of how you are, and I thought we could discuss what your reasons are for why you've been treated for colonics recently. Now I know that you've been having colonics for several years now, and we know each other quite well. But I think it's important for people to understand that there's more than one reason why people have colonic treatments. And I thought if we could talk about you, because for me you've become a really important case study, and explain perhaps why you had them in the first place, and more recently why you've been receiving colonic treatments.
Okay. Well, as you know, several years ago, I was diagnosed with glandular fever.
Yeah.
I was admitted to hospital. And during that process of coming out of the hospital, I had really severe constipation. Tried everything, laxatives and increasing the fibre and things. And then somebody recommended me, obviously, to have a colonic irrigation. And I just found it from then on, it was something that helped my symptoms and relieved me as I sort of went through, throughout the weeks, months and years.
Yeah. And I think from the time that we've known each other, people often ask why should I have a colonic treatment and how often. And often people know when they need another treatment. Symptoms of bloating, constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, whether it's constipation or diarrhea-like symptoms, that they can all be causing real big problems for people with their digestive systems. So more recently, you've been receiving colonics for your latest diagnosis.
Yeah, this time last year I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma,
right.
A type of, obviously, cancer of the lymphatic system.
Yeah.
And obviously with my bowels being weak anyway,
yeah.
I just knew that this was going to cause problems. One of the side effects obviously is constipation. And I found that one of the worst parts of the actual chemotherapy treatment was the constipation throughout. And the colonics were a godsend really for me, because it just relieved all that pressure. The bloating was quite severe, as you know.
Yeah.
But also, for me, it was just getting the bowels moving again. Wasn't perfect, but it was better than nothing.
Yeah.
So.
And my recollection is that one of the things I think it's really important to say is that colonics isn't going to cure cancer, and we're not making any claims that colonics is about curing cancer. What it can do, I think, is alleviate a lot of the symptoms that are caused by the side effects of the treatments that people receive. And my understanding of chemotherapy is it obviously kills cells in order to kill cancer cells.
Yeah.
And those cells have then got to be excreted somehow, and they tend to get dumped into your digestive system because they've got to be excreted. And that seems to cause people an awful lot of severe constipation and the bloating. And even with my years of experience doing colonics, I was really amazed at how bloated you were when you first came in following your treatment.
Yeah.
And so when we're treating anybody who's receiving any chemotherapy, as long as it's not something that's contraindicated, then we always wait at least 2 days after the chemotherapy before we would do a treatment. And that means that it's not going to interfere with your chemo, it's not going to wash it out and dilute the effect of it. But the surprise for me was when you used to come in and you were so bloated, and then how flat your abdomen was.
Afterwards,
And I was so surprised that I took some photographs and showed them to a few of my colleagues who were equally.
I mean, it was
stunned.
quite horrendous, really, because I think whenever you experience bloating, I think we all get it from time to time, but this was absolutely severe, and it was really quite. I suppose for me, was just it was painful. It was uncomfortable. It was visible. I think anybody that knew me could see, the size of my abdomen area. So the relief was, for the colonics.
It was pretty spectacular, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the transformation from being massively bloated and uncomfortable and in pain to suddenly losing that. It was quite a transformation. Yeah.
And I mean, for me as a therapist, it was obviously interesting to see your transformation, and it was nice to be able to help with your symptoms, having known you for so long.
Definitely.
Um,
And I think also it's nice to know that obviously you were there at the other end of the phone. I could call you if my symptoms were worse. I could, you'd always sort of squeeze me into your appointment system and things.
Yeah. And the other thing I think may be that probably psychologically, the toxicity that you experience from chemotherapy, the psychology of sort of washing that out, washing all that dead waste out, I think probably made you feel better.
Yeah, because obviously the chemotherapy treatment is different types of drugs, but and it passes obviously through your urine and things. But yeah, there is that psychological thing about actually getting it out of the gut, out of the system.
Yeah, and would you say that the people that you met while you were having your treatment, and you were talking to them in the hospital about having colonics, and they were quite happy for you to have colonics?
Absolutely. I mean, they said, it's your choice, and obviously you have to fund it yourself.
Yeah.
But if that's what you want to do, and I just knew that was something that I could reach out to and get colonics, and that would ease my symptoms, having already had it in the past anyway.
Yeah.
Previously to having cancer.
That's great. And I think it's nice to say now that you've had all your treatment for chemo. You are now in remission,
yes.
which is great.
Yes.
I'm really pleased about that.
Thankfully, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that you're still continuing to have colonics because you're still suffering with this bloating.
I mean, today is an example where all week I've been quite sluggish with bowel movements, and then the bloating starts again. So I think there's quite a long way to go. And I don't think I'd ever rule out not having a colonic again, because certainly for me it works.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, a lot of people who've never had colonics, they might use laxatives, and as we know, laxatives all work in different ways. They have different effects on your body, and some people might feel that they don't want to go through colonic treatment, and that the laxative is the way for them. But they do all work in different ways. A laxative really is a term for something that helps you to have a bowel movement, and it's choosing the right product. With colonics, what we're doing is introducing warm water into your bowel and stimulating it to empty itself, really. And the action of the warm water on your bowel muscle has a very nice, warm, soothing, relaxing action, and so it helps to soothe your bowel. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've done laxatives before, and they can be very, very quick, fast acting.
Yeah.
But also you don't feel as though it's actually emptied out fully. So you just feel as though you've got more. For me personally, it was more of a stomach upset than actually the end product, which is emptying out your bowels. But certainly the colonics, as you say, is soothing, and it's quite a steady pace, isn't it, the way that it's done? Yeah.
And again, it's probably stating the obvious, is that your gut, this alimentary canal that starts in your mouth and goes all the way through, is the centre of where your food is absorbed from. Most of your body's defence tissue is in your gut, and if your gut can work well and absorb all the nutrients well, then your body stands a much better chance of repairing and working well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so,
and I'm sure that's all aided sort of me, the way I am now in sort of getting better.
Yeah.
Is sort of having the colonics sort of before, during, and after this process really of being diagnosed.
So, as I say, whilst we're not saying that colonics is out for everyone, in your particular
in my case it worked.
Really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you're now feeling a lot better.
Definitely a lot better, yes.
Well, thank you for talking to me. I've really enjoyed hearing about your story again.
Yes.
I know we know each other quite well, but it is nice to have a catch up on exactly where you've got to, and we'll perhaps go and do your treatment.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right, so if you'd like to take that towel, use the toilet if you want to, leave your top clothes on, just take your lower clothes off, put your towel around your waist and then come back.
Okay, will do. Yep. Right, ready?
So you're particularly bloated today, aren't you?
Yeah, you can probably see. Quite bloated.
It's really hard as well, isn't it?
Hard and
yeah. If you want to help yourself onto the couch, and then you wrap the towel over the top of you, and you're looking at the ceiling.
Right. Okay.
Turn the towel on. Okay. The duller sound. So I'm just going to connect, this is the outlet tube, and the inlet tube. People often wonder if all this tubing is going to go inside your body, and the answer is no, it doesn't. What we have here is a specular with an obturator, that's how it comes out. So the inlet tube that takes the water in goes on there, and then it's only this little bit that goes inside your body. So it's just this small part that goes into your rectum, and then we take the obturator out and put the waste pipe to take the waste away on there. Okay, a bit of gas up here.
Yeah. So Jill, what's your view on probiotics?
Well, I think that they're very valuable, especially for people who've taken antibiotics. Antibiotics kill bacteria, and they're obviously a very essential part of infection control, and very useful to people. But they do kill good bacteria as well as bad bacteria. So in my opinion, I think that taking a probiotic after a course of antibiotics is really beneficial. You can see some gas moving from your bowel now, and some waste. And again, people want to know what's in the waste. So generally speaking, it's dead cells. The gut cells are replaced every 4 days, so really quick to replicate. So a lot of the waste that comes out of your body are dead cells, old dead bacteria, and undigested food. Your body can only absorb anything that's soluble. Anything insoluble comes out, and some chemicals. So James, do you feel comfortable?
Yes,
yeah.
Feeling fine, yeah.
So I'm leaving the water really nice and warm. Sometimes we vary the temperature of the water depending on what type of conditions people present with bowel problems. Sometimes if your bowel's really tight and tense, a nice warm treatment will help to relax your bowel. There are occasions when we might cool the water just to stimulate your bowel to do things like expel gas or to actually tone it up a bit.
I noticed, Jill, there's been a lot of publicity recently about bowel cancer.
Yes, that's right. The government have recently launched a campaign to try and make people a bit more aware about bowel cancer. It's the second biggest cancer killer, so it's really something that needs to be taken seriously. And a colonic is never going to be a cure for cancer. As we've said before, it can help alleviate symptoms of constipation, irritable bowel syndrome. But if there's any sudden change in bowel habits, any unexplained bleeding, sudden weight loss, or lots of bloating and discomfort that comes on really quite suddenly, then we would always say to someone, go and see your GP and get yourself checked out. So James, I'm just going to infuse some herbs into your bowel. I know that you always feel are beneficial to you. So this is nice and warm. I've checked the temperature, and in here is an infusion of chamomile, fennel, licorice root and peppermint.
Okay.
And they have this relaxing effect, and they also have an antispasmodic effect, and they're really good at moving gas.
Yep.
So I'm just going to pop those in now. Gosh, James, so that looks a lot better. Bloating's gone down, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And this
A lot flatter.
You can see the
Not exactly a six-pack, but it certainly...
Does it feel better?
Certainly, yeah, it feels a lot better.
So how do you feel?
Really good.
A lot better.
Yeah, a lot better, yeah.
Bloating's
gone down,
Yeah.
and just feels like the discomfort's gone, so yeah,
Right.
just feel really good.
I've got you some probiotics that we were talking about, and I think you might find those useful. I think they'll help with your bloating, they'll help you with your digestive process.
Okay, yeah.
So take one a day with food, and if you take those for a month, there's a month's supply there. And then let me know how you feel.
Yeah,
and
will do.
And hopefully it'll make you feel a lot better.
Great stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Nice to
Well,
see
thanks
you
for
again.
today anyway.